Report story. Ochako held Izuku in her arms, the teen's chin leaning heavily on her shoulder. She sighed and held him, smiling. He always did find a way to pull through, though he had a little help this time. As Ochako held on to him, Aizawa was staring at Izuku from a few feet away, holding on to the now handcuffed lighter and Kurogiri. Aizawa squinted his eyes and looked towards All Might. You have some explaining to do. You seem to know what's going on here, at least a little better than everyone else. Aizawa said sternly to All Might. All Might, slightly surprised at the sudden demand of an explanation, messed with his shirt collar. Why yes, of course. Ochako sat on one of the student couches, laying Izuku on the couch, resting his head in her lap, gently brushing his hair as she looked around. The injured were laying on the floor on mats. Shoto, Momo, Aoyama and Mina had taken the worst, each unconscious, bruised, bloodied. Kaminari and Mineta, while all not as bad as the other three, were still unconscious as well. Multiple students from other courses had been injured but not severe, sitting against walls being bandaged, tired or resting. Ochako looked back down at Izuku who, still with a few burns, came out much better than the rest. Granted, that was mostly due to Aries' rewind quirk from healing him. But still nonetheless, okay. Wait a second, Eri. Ochako yelled suddenly, looking around. Suddenly, a little speck of silver came running out of the crowd of students, jumping onto the couch with Ochako. Koko. Is Deku okay? Eri asked, peering over Izuku's face. Ochako took a big sigh of relief as she held the little girl in her free arm, still using the other to comb Izuku's hair. Yes, he'll be just fine thanks to you. You were a hero today. Ochako said sweetly. Eri's eyes lit up. I was. She asked. Ochako nodded. Eri smiled and sat close to Ochako, humming a bit to herself, full of pride. Ochako pulled her Eri closer, Eri leaning in and resting on Ochako's side, Izuku on her lap still. Ochako closed her eyes, taking in the first true sense of relief she had felt in weeks. Smintus walked towards Aizawa, who was not looking at the three. They strangely look like a family, don't they? Smintas asked Aizawa. Aizawa, not smiling as usual, nodded in agreement. However, in hindsight of the events of this last night, things would have to change. Recovery Girl made her way to the injured students, healing them all. Aizawa insisted they use Recovery Girl instead of Aries' power. Still unsure of how controllable it was, Mineta and Kaminari were the first to wake up, asking immediate questions, Mineta trying to act as though he had bravely battled alongside the others. The rest woke up shortly after, Momo and Todoroki sitting against the wall, Momo hugging Shoto's arm, Aoyama still resting, and Mina now questioning Ochako what had happened. What happened? Mina said loudly, many around the room looking at her. Everyone says Midoriya absolutely destroyed them and pretty much the whole city. How was he able to do all that? She asked quickly, however Ochako smiled and shook her head. A hero is a hero. And that's all there is to it. Izuku just happens to be a natural at it. UUUGGGRRHHH, don't do that. Don't hide behind love. Tell me the secret. Oh, was it love? Did he protect you? That's adorable. Mina said, now happily geeking over Ochako and Izuku's romance, Eri laughing with her, Auntie. Mina, stop. You're teaching Eri weird things. Ochako said, turning a bit red. From the wall Momo and Shoto looked on. Shoto noticed Momo was staring attentively at Izuku. What is it? Shoto asked, giving her a quizziting look. Momo shook her head but continued to stare at Izuku. Nothing. It's just Midoriya. He was like an entirely different person when he was fighting. I only caught a glimpse of when he walked out the room, but it was different. More force, more control, even his energy was a different color. Maybe I'm overthinking, but I think there's more to his quirk. Promoted stories. You'll also like Dream on B. K. Downwards arrow tip rightwards, in which a jealous bachelor signs a deal with the devil in order to win over the heart of his first love. Katsuki Bakugo has loved the PR. Revenge of the wronged hero who happens to be. One could have thought that someone as pure and innocent as Izuku Midoriya would be betrayed by his friends who he thought that he could trust with everything he has. Shining Light 42.7K 928 Quickless, normal, no heroes or quirks. So Izuku Midoriya and Ochako Uraraka have been best friends since kindergarten. But when problems in high school try to drift them, the quirkless lie in unseen power. S1N. Kurayami has always lived in the shadows, pretending to be quirkless in a world that reveres power. Her secret isn't weakness, it's Mindweb, a terrifying ability. Feel fear, my dear Sword O. Different 83K 1.5K Deku is the number one hero. He has fame and money, but he doesn't care much for either. He wants something more but doesn't know what. That is until he meets a very interesting. The paths he chooses. Book 1. A Fate of You, S. A normal day for Izuku as he completes his normal routine and goes to school. Along the way he runs into Yui Kodai, a quiet and mysterious girl of Class 1B, they Keep that quiet, Shoto said, putting a hand on her thigh. Momo looked up at what he said. And at the sudden affection he was showing her. I've noticed it too. But there has to be a reason behind it and a reason why Midoriya has kept it quiet. Maybe one day he'll tell us, but for now, let those two have their secrets. Momo stared at Shoto, who surprisingly had a lot of well thought out ideas on the subject, and nodded. She leaned her head on his shoulder and took a breath. Everything was fine now. The sun grew over the city. Sirens still ran through the streets, cleaning up any of the unconscious villains, though many of which had woken up and escaped back into the shadows. The League of Villains were nowhere to be found, and the now captured and locked up member, Kurogiri, refused to speak on where their location was or what the plan had entailed. Gaslighter, the other accomplice to the crime, refused to speak, only speaking to vow vengeance on Izuku Midoriya. Forget quirks, forget my parents, forget society. Midoriya, Izuku Midoriya, he is my curse, a curse I will cure. He repeated from his cell. The guards stared at him before shaking their heads and leaving him to rot. Class 1A and Class 1B could be seen helping with reconstruction throughout the streets, cranes rebuilding hero agencies, buildings being repaired from the flames, and anyone missing being found. While things on the outside seemed to be brightening, under the seams, unease was growing within society as a whole. We lost a good amount of lives to the gasoline bombs, specifically the ones that went off near the hero agencies, Aizawa said, sitting in a couch in the teacher's lounge at UA, the school building slowly being prepared. The morning light shone through the cracked windows, the couches had been cleaned and the room, for the most part, put back together except for a few holes in the glass walls. Heroes are either severely injured, disorganized, and woefully unprepared. Equipment, files, plans, people, all gone to the explosions. Aizawa continued. How is Yukio doing? She received the brunt of the explosions, did she not? All Might asked. Yukio's agency had been hit the hardest of the bunch, specifically targeted due to her connection to the overhaul incident. She's stable, but she won't be doing hero work for some time. Midnight is doing better, she'll be back to teaching once the building is rebuilt. However, the people aren't too happy with us. Endeavor said from the corner. They blame heroes for the attack. We weren't prepared. We couldn't protect everyone in a timely manner. But what were we supposed to do? It was a night attack. Miriko, a top 10 hero, asked, frustrated. Unfortunately, even if we could do something, the wound has been opened here and now and it won't be the first. Principal Nezu claimed, setting his coffee cup down. However, the villains have also given us a chance. We now know they are planning something against society, whatever that may be. That information is valuable. We also know that two of their targets might be Izuku Midoriya and potentially Eri. Right now, we need to organize the best we can. I believe the board will be bringing together a meeting in the next few weeks regarding a secret mission that may be involved in this. For the time being, head back to your agencies and send out what heroes we do have with relief and reconstruction efforts. We need to gain the approval of the populace while still possible. The pros filed out the room, leaving Nezu, All Might and Aizawa. I haven't forgotten what we need to talk about, All Might. Aizawa said with a glare. Nezu picked up his coffee and sipped. All Might started sweating. Well, I mean, it's nothing really. All Might stuttered. That wasn't just anything, All Might. Izuku was a target, and I saw everything. You, Sensei, literally flew and patted your head. What are you, a child? Aizawa said sternly. All Might looked down. That wasn't Midoriya. Your quirks are similar, you give him special treatment, and he could barely get control of his quirk. By record, it only appeared a few months before your retirement. There's more going on here, and it's now put a target on my student. Aizawa's eyes flashed red. All Might gulped. Suddenly the door opened. A split second of relief filled All Might, thankful for the distraction, before terror built right back up. Gran Torino was standing at the door. One for all. Gran Torino started, walking towards the couches with his cane. All Might outwardly gasped. Gran Torino. He has standing, however Gran Torino shot him a glare, shutting All Might up. It's a quirk that stockpiles and holds previous users' quirks, passing them down user to user. Toshinori here is the previous 8 user, while Midoriya is the ninth user. Nezu said, setting his coffee down once again. And you kept this to yourself, why? It's been standard to keep a quirk like that hidden. The potential dangers, people wanting it, concern, government, weaponization. It's too dangerous for the public to know. It's been kept secret for decades. However, Gran Torino looked at Aizawa, whose frustration was showing. Current events have caused this to change slightly. All for one, the villain All Might had locked away a few months back, is a large reason as to why One for All exists. To keep that massive villain at bay, you need not know the history of what that man has done, for you've seen a small fraction of it in Camino. You consider that tragedy a small fraction. What are you putting Izuku Midoriya up against All Might? Aizawa said, facing All Might. Young Midoriya has chosen this path. He came to me and proved to me that his heart was the one to hold and wield One for All. There was no better choice for a successor. All Might said, confidence surging through him. Midoriya was the correct choice. And his body. Was that the correct choice? Aizawa said, standing. His body and everything occurring as of unknown. We don't know the power of one for all. We believed we did, however this was new. None of this happened with Toshinori. Something is changing in the works, and as a hero you should understand that, Eraserhead. Gran Torino said stiffly, staring into Aizawa's eyes. Izuku Midoriya is the one to wield this power. And stop this all for one. Nezu asked, seemingly cheery. All Might looked down at the little principal. No doubt about it, All Might responded. Then best we can do is prepare him. If new things are arising with a quirk that ancient, and with these recent events, there's more happening under the works than we yet understand. However, one thing remains certain. Izuku Midoriya must learn to control the full extent of One for All and all its secrets. You trust Midoriya with this? He's only a first year. Aizawa said, questioning the mouse. Missions of regular status. That's one thing. Ancient villains. That's another. Which is why he will be prepared. I have placed money on that boy Aizawa. I suggest you do the same. Even you can tell Midoriya isn't a normal student. Neither is Uraraka for that matter either. Midoriya and Uraraka both managed to teach Eri to control her quirk, Midoriya teaching and Uraraka giving him hope. Those two I believe will be the future of these incoming changing times. Aizawa clicked his tongue. All Might walked up and faced him. I care for that boy just as much, if not more than you, Aizawa. All Might started. I worry my heart out for him. He's given me more heart attacks than my body can keep up with. But if anyone can save this world from whatever is coming, it's young Midoriya. Aizawa stared into those bright blue fiery eyes, the last remains of All Might's prime, before walking around him and heading to the door. You had better be right. I'm assuming you have a plan. Aizawa asked Nezu, who took another sip of his coffee. You know me well, Aizawa, the mouse said with a smile. Ochako watched from the sandy beaches as Izuku ran up and down the coastline, green energy flying behind him. She smiled. He looked so happy to have his quirk back. It's back. Ocha, it's back, he yelled, now running through the low waters of the ocean. Ochako chuckled. I see that, she called out. She loved that boy. Izuku laughed and ran circles with the energy flowing behind him. Green as can be, Izuku jumped high before landing and jogging to Ochako, the energy leaving his body. It feels different, normal even. Like, normal as if it's even more a part of me. I can use more than 8% casually now, at least 15%. That's amazing. It's like my body remembers what Nana Shimura did, how she flowed the energy through me. Ochako furrowed her brows and puffed her cheeks. Izuku raised an eyebrow and looked at her. What's wrong? He asked. I don't like them just taking your body like that. I mean, I know it saved us and all, but still. They could have just told you instead of taking your quirk. Ochako said, crossing her arms. Izuku laughed. Yay, but they have been dealing with One for All for a lot longer. They have their reasons. They said my connection isn't strong enough. They said meditating really helped the connection. You're the reason Nana was able to save everyone. Ochako blushed and waved her hand back and forth. No way. You would have figured something out eventually. Plus, in the end, it was you who fixed the connection. Everyone thinks it was you too. The helicopter caught some of the action. You looked so cool. Pink really suits you. The news are calling you the next symbol of peace. Ochako said, clapping her hands together. Izuku sighed. It wasn't me though. I shouldn't take the credit. Everyone else was fighting out there while I got blown up and knocked out. Izuku opened up his phone and hit the news tab. Immediately a picture of him, pink energy surrounding him, staring up at the helicopter's camera with an arm raised high was front page. The next symbol of peace. I wish it was actually me who could have saved the day. In the end I couldn't help anyone. Izuku said, dropping his phone. You did. You strengthened the connection. If anything you worked as a team with Nana. Plus, she gave you a gift. She did All Might's pose for you. Izuku quickly looked back at the phone. She did, didn't she? The two laughed, then stared out into the ocean, the blue sky reflecting off the waters. I wonder why they didn't want us helping with reconstruction. I feel like we should have helped. Izuku said. Ochako shrugged. I'm not sure. They took Eri away too. Izuku's face fell. Aizawa had come to take Eri away a few days after the incident. I guess since my quirk is back I'll be back in classes. I'm really gonna miss having her here. Izuku said sadly. He had spent the most time with her. Ochako rubbed his back. I'm sure you'll see her sooner than you think. She said, though she was also missing Eri strongly. Uraraka would be correct. Midoriya, you however are wrong. A voice said behind them. Both students turned around to see Aizawa standing behind them. All Might told me you'd be here. You will be seeing Eri soon enough. She will be staying with you two specifically. He said. Ochako and Izuku's eyes lit up. Really? That's great. Izuku said standing, Ochako standing right after him. However, Aizawa said, recent news have come out about you and your quirk. Midoriya. Izuku's eyes grew wide. You can thank Gran Torino for giving me and Principal Nezu the heads up sooner or later you should have expected me or Nezu to find out about this one for all. Izuku stuttered, not being able to find words. Aizawa lifted a hand before he could properly form a sentence. That is why. You will no longer be attending classes at UA. You guys thought you'd get a break. The surprises keep on coming. Arc 4 BABYYYYYYYYYYYYY. Here we go. Kenny Boy. Where stories live. Discover now.